Hello everyone, I'm Xiao Gang. In this lesson, we'll continue working on this UI. Let's first implement all the features we can for the UI, then we'll move on to the next topics. Alright, now we need to create an enemy bar. Well, the approach for this enemy bar is quite special. Let's write out the bar first. Here, it's the same as before. You can just attach it to any ordinary card. Because this thing, we need to make it smaller. These parameters are nothing special to mention. They're all the same. The key point is what comes after. The approach might be a bit different. So how do we write this part later? Let me think about how to write this part later. We still need to do the binding. First, let's prepare a MiniEnemyBar event. Please delete all the clutter. Because this bar is not placed on the UI, it is placed on the player's component. So we need to give it MiniEnemy. And here we need to pass a parameter. As for this parameter, we'll just give it directly to the XG. XG ARPG character, directly give it a. This class, the top level class for our character. Then we give it an in character. After entering, we must have this class. This is a must-have. Then we find our house component for it. Maybe we find it like this. You can find it through reflection, however you like. Any method of finding it is fine. Then here we make it easewise. Next, we need to do the binding. But we might also need to unbind. Right, let's do the binding first. We'll also bind it to this event. Bind to our health change event. And to our max health change event. Then for this event, we actually do the same. Just create this function. After binding is complete, we still do the say thing. We set the corresponding values. This is all the same way of writing. We pull this over here. We promote these to variables. Okay, there's an error here, right? For the error, we can create a method. This method, we can actually borrow it. We can just borrow it from the previous one. That's fine. Next health, then update health. Confirm here. Look here. It's actually all the same here. There's nothing much to say about the code here. Compile it. This is just update our bar. Update house just needs to drag the bar again. Let's see which one throws an error. Then here, we select the method. The first one is the updated health value, written incorrectly. The second one is the updated maximum health value. Then there will be this here. Okay. Good, now that it's bound. Actually, this is something we've always wanted to mention to you. We have been mentioning this concept, but sometimes we might miss it. Just know that this exists. When it absorbs, when it returns, we can take this care. This in character. They should be promoted to a variable to find our component. Then we let it go. If this component is available, we just let it go to mBond. Here, one is this health, a smack health. Okay, let's connect this data. Okay, no problem. Remember, at the very end, we also manually call this update health bar. Okay, so how do we do this health bar? Then go to our BP. For this kind of thing, we just write it in BP. Then we find our character. We should hang it in character default. Okay, then we add a widget component here. Click the wrong one. Sorry, not this one. Widget. And for the hierarchy, we make it right. Make it under the capsule components hierarchy. Okay, here we select this MiniEnemyBar thing. Then we adjust its size. This size is a bit too big. Let's set it to 280. It still seems a bit too big. Let's set it to 60. 15. Set this to 80. Okay, then we better move this position to the top of the head. Alright, and after moving it, we'll make it always face the screen when rendering. Okay, then next, we need to do some processing and begin play. Because this thing needs to do this, we need to pass the character to bind it. We cast to BP. It is BP. Should convert it to this. And then, here we don't worry about it for now. Just write it like this. We let it init MiniEnemyBar, then pass ourselves in. Get our own reference and pass it to it. Now let's start it up. Let's check the effect. Okay, let's start too. Let's see if it can successfully display the health value. Okay, right? You can see the health value has been successfully updated. Okay, now we need to add some logic. Because we don't need to do it for our own player. So here, after we finish this action, we see its local control. I'll write it like this. Is it locally controlled? If it is locally controlled, then we need to turn off its visibility. Turn off its visibility. Just to make it. Similarly, there should actually be a method here that can be overridden. Let me find it. Actually, there is a method here. In our view, we have a method called onDeathStar. Here, we also need to turn off its visibility because it has started dying and no longer needs this health bar. But we haven't written the death logic yet. We'll write it later. We'll write it in 2 more lessons. At this point, everyone can see about our own player's head. He won't have this. Health bar enemy. Right, okay. So this is actually how you can write names. Ideas like player names can all be done this way. Done this way. Okay, you can notice there's a small issue here, which is that he sees it like this. Actually, you can do some Sandy UI optimizations here, or handle it in some way to make this UI when this character is not visible to the player. Hide its health bar. These can all be dealt with later. So that concludes this lesson for everyone. And in these 3 lessons, we mainly did a simple binding of this curve strip. Thank you all.